Do I want movies for seconds? Movies for minutes? Movies for hours? No, I want movies for days. Hi, this is Ryan Wilson, host of You Gonna Eat That Crust podcast. And when I want to go to a deep dive into a movie, I go to Movies for Days with your host, Professor Newman, laying down those ultra fantastic movies, those deep dives, and the best damn Nicolas Cage impression I have ever heard. So join Newman and his cast of rotating hosts as they bring you Movies for Days, another podcast brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pizza Bones, a You Gonna Eat That Crust production. Proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. I am your host, Greg Hoey. With me is Seamus Rogers, and also with me is Nate Harvey. How you guys doing tonight?
Woo! What up, boys?
Hey.
Glad to be here.
Heck yeah. Can't complain.
All the people out there, all 7 of you.
We got 27, maybe.
Nice.
That's my lucky number.
Yeah, this is a comedy true crime podcast. We're gonna have some laughs. It has some sensitive subjects, so warning. There's some rape talk and there's all sorts of bad stuff. So if it's not something for you, then I suggest going back and listening to top 90s songs or another You Gonna Eat That Crust podcast episode that's not true crime.
Just don't move on to another podcast.
Exactly.
That's right.
But if it's something you can have a few laughs with and want to enjoy the ride with us, then come on in, because we are talking Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker himself.
Oh, shit. I didn't know it was this monster.
Yep. Grab your toothbrush and let's get into it.
Oh, definitely grab your toothbrush. Brush those teeth and floss as well, too. You know, dental's tough in America. All right, so we'll get into this guy. He's got 16 proven victims. He was convicted of 13 and suspected of another 4. He's born in El Paso, Texas, the youngest of 6, born to Julian and Mercedes Ramirez. He was born in February 29th, 1960. His father was angry and violent. His grandfather beat the shit out of him, and he swore he wasn't going to do it to his kids, but, you know, he did.
Shit apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No, that's a good call with a shit apple, because they got shit teeth. The whole family, I guess, had a anger problem. I guess everybody but one of his sisters was like, his sister was calm, but the rest of the family had like crazy anger issues and would fly off the handle like instantly.
I hope she got out of there.
Yeah. So as a baby, he loved music. He would always like just wiggle his limbs to any little jam that was going down.
I mean, that sounds like being a baby.
Exactly. Yeah. So at 2 years old, while he was being babysat, he wanted to listen to some music, but the sitter was lazy and refused to leave the couch. And the only radio he had was on a dresser. So Richard decided to scale the dresser, and of course it couldn't hold his weight, and it fell on him, knocking him out for 15 minutes and giving him a concussion.
That's crazy. My wife made us attach all of our furniture to the walls when we had kids.
Smart.
And I thought it was a little excessive, but now we know.
Yeah, but they try and climb everything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's true.
So it took 30 stitches to sew up little Richie's head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing he had baby skin. I mean, he was ugly anyways. He was doomed.
They keep on saying he had great hair, though.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
luscious.
Maybe they said this back in the 70s.
Yeah. That's one concussion. 3 years later, at 5 years old, he was at the playground with his sister, and his sister was on a swing, and he ran towards the swing and didn't realize the trajectory of the swing, and she basically kicked him right in the face
Ugh.
and knocked him unconscious again.
My dog has chosen that fate many a times.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's so
I've
bad
seen videos
every
of
time.
it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes a kid's got to touch a hot stove, right?
Yeah.
This dude's got to learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he would suffer from epileptic seizures after that, and they would eventually stop in his early teens.
Do they think that the impact to his head brought these on, or did he have something else? Do we know?
Of course. So that's a good question. His mother worked at the Tommy leather boot factory for the first 5 months of her pregnancy. She was exposed to noxious chemicals without the aid of ventilation or any type of respiratory mask. She basically came close to losing the baby.
Right, all that formaldehyde and all that they're working with. Oof.
Yep.
Then it was a dumbass part. Was licking the lead paint off the walls too.
So it's weird because he started smoking pot as a teenager and his epileptic seizures just went away.
Mm.
So I wonder if the pot had anything to help with seizures because it's a known helper, the old cannabis. So
Interesting.
he would also sleep in local cemeteries to avoid beatings from his father.
It's sad.
Yes. His cousin Miguel was a major influence on his life and future crimes.
Oh yeah.
He was a former Green Beret in the Vietnam War. He brought back a bunch of Polaroids of him raping Vietnamese women, decapitating women, and just really intense, horrible shit.
Jeez,
Torture,
are you
all
not
the nasty shit.
punishable to those crimes if in other countries? I mean, do you not?
Well, he's there for war, so he's just doing his job, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess
He takes
back
it
then
very serious.
they didn't convict people of war crimes.
Yeah,
Right.
he came back and won medals, actually.
Yeah. He came back as a hero.
But war wasn't killing prostitutes and taking photos.
Right?
Yeah. I heard he shrunk heads too.
It's Beetlejuice.
Oh dang! I got my plots mixed up. Dang it.
He brought a few of them back in a duffel bag on the plane and just kept them in his closet.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here. I'm a hero.
Yep. The prisoners.
He introduced Richard to these pictures and marijuana. He was the one who got him into pot at like age 12. And basically, Richard kind of started masturbating to these photos and fantasies started popping up, dark fantasies.
Just put him down.
So he taught Richard stealth, secrecy, and how to kill somebody. May 4th, 1973, Richie was hanging out at Miguel's house, and there was a gun in the refrigerator. And he asked Miguel, like, hey, why is there a gun in the refrigerator? And he's like, I'm just trying to cool it off in case I got to use it sometime. That's kind of weird. His wife, Jessie, came home and was arguing with Miguel about playing pool with his buddies and not looking for a job, was just freaking out. So he went to the refrigerator, pulled out the gun, and she dared him to shoot her, and he shot her right in the face, point blank, right there, right in front of Richard and right in front of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
This was his wife?
Yep, this is Miguel's wife.
And so 2 kids were there, right?
Yep. Richie was there and his 2 kids were there. And he basically told him, like, hey, get lost. And, of course, he left pretty fucking shooken. Later, when he went back with his father to pick up some possessions from Miguel after he shot his wife, he was kind of rifling through her stuff. And it kind of gave him, like, a sense of mystery. And he said that was a mystical day. You could smell the blood. So him going back to this house, kind of digging through a dead person's possessions, kind of gave him a little stiffy.
Mm.
But he didn't miss her?
What, his aunt?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess not. He was fucking sick.
Yeah.
So Miguel blamed it on PTSD and was sent to a mental institution. He was found criminally insane. The dude only did 4 years.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
How do you let someone like this guy out?
Yeah, a guy with Polaroids of dead
Have you ever cut
people.
anyone's head off?
Yeah.
Oh, you're never getting out.
Yeah, right? That's insane.
Richard then moved in with his sister Ruth and her husband, who was a peeping Tom.
Nice.
And this dude would bring Richard along with him. Like, he showed him all the spots, told him how to avoid getting caught and being seen. And Richard was 13 at this time.
This is his sister's dude?
Husband. Yep, this is their sister's husband.
He's got really good role models.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. He was just doomed.
fucking serial killer soup, pretty
Yeah.
much. So around this time, he also started experimenting with acid,
Oh boy, that's just what a sociopathic psychopath needs.
right? And he started also getting into Satanism at the time. And his favorite band was AC/DC.
AC/DC.
He like took their music literal. He was
Highway
on
to
a highway
Hell.
to hell. Yeah.
Nice.
Before he was out of high school, he had committed his first rape. He worked at a Holiday Inn, and one of his buddies had stolen like a master key card, which allowed you into all sorts of rooms. So he would basically break into people's houses and steal their shit. Sometimes, or I'm sorry, not their houses. He would break into people's rooms and steal their shit, rifle through their shit. He started getting ballsy, and he would like hang in closets and watch people undress and do all sorts of shit like that.
When would he come out?
When they left, or he would sneak out. Like he was very stealth. Like this dude's trained. He's a trained
By a
little
Green
stealth little
Beret.
shit. Yes.
Scary. Luckily, he wasn't fucking killing yet, I guess.
Wow.
So he forced his way into a room and he found a lady alone and he tried to rape her.
And he's 14 years old at the time.
Yes.
But he's also probably like 6'4".
He was, yeah, I think he was pretty tall. He was like
Is he?
tall and lanky. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's 6'4", but he's like at least 6 feet probably.
Oh,
So the gentleman, who I don't know if he's out getting ice, but came back pretty fast, her husband, and beat the fucking shit out of him and like beat him unconscious.
Too bad he didn't kill him. That guy might have gotten nothing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he could have
Man, he could have
solved
saved
everything.
20
Yeah,
lives.
exactly.
yeah.
So the couple was from out of town, so they didn't want to like press charges, and they just wanted to like move on from it. So he got away with it with just
That
a
is just
concussion.
crazy. That's absolutely insane, right? Somebody trying
Yeah.
to rape someone at 14, they're not like, well, let's just like put them on a list. Or
He come home
something.
while he in the act while he was trying to.
Yeah, oh yeah, he beat the
Yeah.
he beat the shit out of him, like knocked him unconscious. And he also obviously got fired from his job. But again, this is the 70s. This is where like when girls get raped, they're like, "Oh, but she was showing too much leg." So like rape was a lot different than it is, now, or like it wasn't taken as seriously. So at 18 years old, he moved to Southern California, and Richie had a horrible diet. He lived on convenience store food. His teeth were basically rotting out of his head, because he just drank soda.
Drinking Mountain Dews and drinking sausage and corn dogs or whatever from the spin-on machine.
Yeah.
Damn.
He had horrible halitosis, which is chronic bad breath, which surviving victims later would report. Like all of them would say he smelled like leather because he had horrible body odor as well. But they all reported that he smelled like leather and had the most horrid breath ever.
Mm.
Well, everything about him was gross.
Yeah, he's disgusting. He's literally probably one of the worst fucking people
Yeah,
ever.
he's one of the worst monsters I've ever
Yep.
heard about.
So, with a pound of dirt weed to sell and start his new life in California, he began to get into cocaine heavily, and he basically would mainline it, which
What does that mean?
it's like you're shooting it. You're shooting like it's like a heroin,
wow.
I guess.
Okay, so you're like cooking it up.
Yep. And that can cause more aggression and increase psychosis. He felt it brought him closer to Satan.
Okay. I do coke for you, Satan.
Yeah. Anytime he did acid, too, he felt like he could talk to Satan. So, like I said, he studied the highways, maps. He knew the city like Corey LaFlower knows Grand Theft Auto City.
But he couldn't find the highway to hell, huh?
He knows the
Yeah.
I say he knew the highway to hell, but he was just scared to go that
He
way.
was just thunderstruck, that's all.
Well, wait till he gets back in the saddle again.
And like I said, he stopped showering and had horrible body odor. He basically was doing drugs, partying, and banging prostitutes. And he was living on Skid Row. He was living in stolen cars. And this is his life right now. He's like, I made it. This is the fucking best. He also stayed at the famous Cecil Hotel, which,
Ooh.
we talked about in the Ghost Stories episode.
We wonder if he's the one that put that girl in it.
Yeah.
Water tank.
Yeah.
And Skid Row is just a really nasty area, not just a really horrible band. Not just kidding. I love Skid Row.
So he was with prostitutes, but he never killed prostitutes. Is that true, or
That we know of. So
right, that we know of.
his
Allegedly.
his first sexual assault was when he first got to LA. He got into PCP as well, and with an unnamed girl, they scored some PCP, and they went back to her place, and they did all their PCP, and he kind of tried to like move on her, and she rejected him. So they finished up their PCP. He left, but when he left a window unlocked. So later that night, he came back, snuck in, and he raped her repeatedly. He left her alive, but that was basically his first sexual assault.
And he obviously got out of that one too.
Yep.
No respect for women back then, unfortunately.
Yeah. So his first murder was not discovered until 2009. This was technically his first murder. I mean, obviously they knew about the other ones, but
So wait, he was born in what, 60, 61?
60.
So he was almost 50 before he killed someone.
They
out it.
It was a DNA they finally connected.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Is this back at the hotel when he killed this girl though? Or is this...
No, this was so May Long is a 9-year-old girl who lived 6 blocks from where Richard Ramirez stayed. Holly Parrer is a detective, ran a 25-year-old DNA sample. That's when they found out in 2009. But she was stabbed, raped, and positioned essentially one of the cops said she was hung like Jesus on a cross. Kind of. They found her, but they never found out who did it.
Thankfully, someone was doing their diligence and testing this stuff. I guess that's how they caught a lot of them later on, or maybe not caught them, but got DNA evidence later on. Because back in the day, they weren't really trying hard.
So, and this dude loved to talk about his crimes. When they did eventually catch him, he sang like a bird. He was an open book. But like Israel Keys and many others, most are not proud of killing kids, and usually don't speak on those. So
good, because you're the most evil fuckers out there.
Yep. So his second murder, which was essentially people thought was his first, was an old lady named Ginny Vicow. He stabbed her while she was sleeping and sliced her throat so deep she was almost decapitated.
Nice. And she's what, 79 years old?
Yeah, she was an older lady. Yep.
Yeah.
What a crazy spectrum from a 9-year-old to a 79-year-old. That's insane.
This guy was so random. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
And before he killed Guinea, he was raping and abducting little girls.
Yeah.
And he would just drop them off at random locations. I think he had one in a sleeping bag and raped her and then just threw her out of the road in a sleeping bag.
Like little kids?
Yep. And that was February 1985 when Guinea first got it.
I hope he got his dues in jail.
Oh, he gets his. A month later, his third victim, Maria Hernandez and Dale Ojanowski. Dale Ojanowski is a female, actually.
Yeah, that would confuse me for a minute.
Yeah, me too. And I was like, I had her whine. What's going on?
Those parents really wanted a boy.
Yeah.
Man, name your daughter Dale.
Yeah. So he had followed Maria home, who was on her way home from her boyfriend's house. And she pulled up into her garage, and he snuck into the garage as it was closing.
Right, and that's so easy to do, I bet.
Yep. And he had a .22.
That was before they had those little motion sensors at the bottom.
Yeah, he had Indiana Jones with his AC/DC hat.
Yeah. Is this the one where he lost his AC/DC?
He might have lost it here. I think he might have.
I don't remember.
He definitely does lose his AC/DC hat eventually, and he's not happy about that.
And that would make you kill more. I mean, it's a serious hat, so I get it.
So he sneaks up on her. He attacks her with a .22 gun. He fires at her face, and she puts her hands up, holding her keys, and the bullet ricochets off the keys.
That's insane.
She's so lucky, one of the most lucky people ever in true crime history. And she was smart enough.
It's a small surface area too.
Exactly. I mean, a .22 is a small bullet, right?
Yeah. And then she just plays dead, right?
Any other caliber, she the keys probably wouldn't have stopped it.
It's amazing he didn't choose a bigger gun, because there's so many times he shoots people and they don't die. So it's at what point are you I should probably upgrade it?
Couldn't afford a better gun because he's doing fucking crack and shit.
That's true.
Well, supposedly a .22 is a good assassin's gun. That was his reasoning behind getting it. He was told that it was a good assassin gun or something.
It's only good if you're close.
Yep, and he usually is.
Yeah.
It's a coward rapist gun.
Yeah, right. So she puts her hands up, bounces off the keys. She plays dead. He goes inside, and 34-year-old Dale Ojawowski heard the gunshot, and she sees Richard come in. So she ducks behind the counter, and he sees her duck behind the counter. And so she's kind of waiting for him to go, and she peeks her head up, and he shoots her right in the forehead.
Ugh.
And you're right, Nate. This is where he left his AC/DC hat.
Oh, nice. I knew it was one of them. Although, you know what's funny is the house I was working in today, the woman was wearing an AC/DC shirt, and I just laughed about it all day to myself.
I'm gonna kill
So,
you.
what year was this?
This was 85.
85. So you left DNA all over that place and couldn't do anything with it for
Yep.
a couple more decades more.
On another source I read, he went around back and ran into Maria again, and she pleaded for her life, and he let her go. He didn't kill her. He just fucking kept on going. He's probably like, fuck, my hat. He was so torn up about the hat.
I'll let you go. Just give me my goddamn hat.
So he
back.
wasn't done though. Like, so that very same night, he was driving and he saw another girl he wanted to kill, this girl Veronica. And she kind of like let him pass, and she was behind him, and he was driving like erratically. So she's kind of like, fuck you, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. So he pulls over, gets out, and tries to convince her, like, hey, do I know you? Do I know you? And she's like, no, no. And he tries to rip her out of the car, but she wasn't having that. So he just went around, opened the passenger door, and shot her. And she ran away, and she shot her again. She would later die on the way to the ambulance.
Why didn't she just take off?
I don't know.
When someone tries to rip me out of my car, I'm probably gonna like stab him, chop him, and then take off.
Do something,
You know, I have a fucking hatchet next to my seat. I'll probably chop your fingers off.
Well, I know not to abduct Shamers, so try
Yes.
Mhm.
Chop your
Yeah.
hand off right at the wrist, and then I'm taking off.
to. No! Yeah, so these dates and victim numbers are like all over the place because he fucking did it all so fast and he did so many.
Yeah.
It's the adrenaline. It's
Which
the adrenaline. I
definitely
mean,
makes me believe that he's got more.
you do some coke, hero basing, whatever you called it, mainstream, mainlining, and then you listen to some AC/DC. You got to go for that thrill.
So check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Good call,
Shoot to
Seamus.
thrill.
He eventually gets off drugs because he knew he wanted to murder and he didn't want to be just another junkie. He knew he couldn't get away with it if he was all fucked up and high. So murder was his new high. So he fucking ditched cocaine and all this stuff.
So he was going for quality murder over quantity murders.
Yep. He decided like he was going to be a murderer, not a drug addict.
All right. Good choice. I mean, this is the one time I say I think being a junkie is the better choice here.
Right? Well, he probably still would have done it, but probably got caught quick.
I got caught. Good.
So Maxine and Vincent Zazzara are the next few victims. He broke into their house.
So that's 3 people?
No, Maxine and Vincent Zazzara. Zazzara was their last name.
I didn't know if Cesaro was the dog.
Yep. Nope. Vincent was 64. Maxine was 44. He broke in at 2 a.m. while Vincent was sleeping on the couch because I think they had just gotten into a fight. So he shoots him in the head, and Maxine hears this, goes and grabs Vincent's shotgun, and she has Ramirez lined up, ready to shoot him, pulls the trigger, click.
Oh, no. It wasn't loaded?
So it's not loaded because Vincent recently removed the shells because their grandchildren had recently come to visit.
That's awful.
So the guy being a good grandfather, like getting rid of the bullets, fucking pays the ultimate price. And he was so fucking scared when she pulled the trigger that he like shot her like 3 times. And of course, she got raped and all the.
See? Kids are a liability. Keep your guns loaded and ready. Don't let kids in your house.
It's funny because they say don't leave a loaded gun out, and then it's like, but when you need the gun,
Right.
you don't have time to load it. So, I don't know. I don't have a gun. I'm fucked.
Mine are ready to go. I would keep one in the chamber. No, you don't have to do that. They only do that in the movies. Real people going into a gunfight already have one in the
they're ready to
chamber.
roll. So police found Maxine and her face was mutilated. He wanted to like cut her heart out, and he tried, but he couldn't. He didn't really know autonomy and couldn't get through the breastplate or the breastbone. So he decided he would gouge her eyes out. And meanwhile, all these people he's killing and robbing, he's like ransacking their house, taking jewelry and selling it to pawn shops and selling it to like shady motherfuckers. So that will come back to play.
He's a scumbag living a poor life. He's not very intelligent at all.
No. So like I said, her face was mutilated. Her eyes were gouged out. One of the police said it was like one of the most horrific things he's ever seen. She had stabs to her neck, the pubic area, And cops say there was a sight they would just never forget. It was so brutal, like just dried blood and like, blackened eye sockets. Just really
Yeah,
fucking gross.
And he took the
imagine.
eyes with him, right? As a souvenir?
Yes, yep.
Yep. Nice. Didn't see that coming.
He scooped out the eyes, put them into a jewelry box, and then
Yeah.
took him for a serial killer trophy.
Sorry, like even like I couldn't imagine being a cop sometimes, and even my EMT friend, told me he had like called the other day with this woman who like fell and broke her leg, and like the bone was coming out through the front of her shin, and I'm just like, I couldn't even deal with that. I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh no, not at all. Ugh.
My grower buddy Nate, the guy who grows that really dank ass organic bud, he was an EMT. He was at the Boston bombing.
Ugh.
He said it was
Ugh.
fucking
man.
brutal.
That
That's
is
why a
awful.
lot of EMTs have a really sick sense of humor because they got to deal with some nasty.
He
fucking
definitely
shit.
has a sixth sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not do that job at all. That's for sure. I ran into a guy with like bloody makeup one day at work, and I was like, "Oh my god, you all right?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just an actor." I was like, "Oh,
Well, get that checked out. That's good. That's
yeah, no, dude. Like this guy looked like he just got into a car. Well, I mean, the scene was a car accident, so it does make sense. But yeah, I'm like, "Oh shit, man, you all right?"
Well, at least you were checking up on him instead of be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I gotta go."
Get away from me, you sick!
Yeah, you sick son of a bitch.
Yeah, you're bleeding everywhere.
So we know that he left the AC/DC hat behind at the Maria Hernandez home. The second clue for police was the footprint of an Avia sneaker, and that will
Okay.
definitely come back.
They
to
still
bite.
didn't get him for a decade, 2 decades and a half.
I want to say that they sold only 500 pairs of these shoes, maybe only a couple hundred, and only 6 pairs were sold.
Were sold in that
California-
area?
In California.
Oh yeah.
And only one in LA.
Yep.
Which makes zero sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like one shoe in LA.
Cops putting in the effort.
I don't know. This one felt weird.
So they had seen it before, so this is the second time they've seen it, so this is when they're like, oh shit, we have a serial killer on our hand. Almost all the killings so far, they had found at least a footprint. Sometimes he would take his shoes off before he went into the house, but they would always find it outside by the window or whatever, like the Avia footprint. So May 14th, 1985, he breaks into the house of Bill and Lillian Doy. He broke in and shot Bill in the face. He shot him in the mouth when he was sleeping.
Oh god, right in the mouth.
Did he rub it on his lips, get him to open up first?
No, he was sleeping with his mouth open, and he shot him in the mouth.
I know, but
Okay.
people do things inadvertently when they're sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he had a stiff upper lip.
Oh,
It's AC. No, too
Hey.
soon without AC.
Nice. I didn't
Sorry.
realize that.
Sorry. Oh no, I got a list up right now. I'm just waiting for you to cue me in. He's a problem child, that's for sure.
Nice.
Sorry.
So he goes into Lillian's bedroom and he bound her with thumb cuffs. I don't know what thumb cuffs are, but
Huh.
I think you get them at the sex store.
I'm thinking of the Chinese finger trap things.
Mhm.
I don't know if that.
You're not going anywhere now.
fuck.
Well, when you're panicking, you can't get your thumbs out.
That's true.
No.
So she had cerebral palsy. She just had
Oh.
a stroke 2 months before, so that's why he was sleeping on the couch, and that's why they slept in separate rooms. She did survive because when Richard was trying to rape her and do all sorts of shit, the husband was still alive, and he crawled to the phone through gurgling blood and was able to call 911.
A hero for his wife.
Yeah.
Love right there. Even though she kicked him to the couch. Oh, it wasn't because they were fighting with cerebral
Yeah,
palsy.
because yep.
I was thinking of the other couple from earlier.
And he would always use the line "Shut up, bitch! Don't look at me, bitch!" It was actually almost kind of like what's that movie? Usual Suspects. So it was kind of like that movie Usual Suspects, where they had him say the line "Shut up, cocksucker!" So when they eventually caught him, they would say he had to say "Shut up, bitch!" And of course he said it perfectly because he's the one who said it.
He's also not very smart, so he wouldn't think to change up his
Right? Shut up, bitch!
vocalization and tone.
So Lillian was able to recall that phrase. She also said that he smelled like wet leather, and she said his breath was horrible.
And he was way across the room.
The husband succumbed to his injuries around 5:30 a.m. that morning and died. But, you know, like I said, he did save his wife's life, died a hero.
Yeah.
Ma Bell and Florence Lang.
Got the ill communication.
Yeah. When I was doing the research, that's all I could think of. I was like, somebody's going to say it. So Ma Bell and ill communication, Florence Lang, they were 83 and 81 years old.
What a piece of shit, but I guess it's better than a 9-year-old.
This is fucking brutal. Obviously, this is all brutal. He walked into the house. He sees a hammer on the counter, and he grabs it. He hits one of the women instantly in the head, and then goes to find the other woman and hits her in the head as well. He then grabbed a lamp, and he ripped out the wires, and he began to shock Ma Bell while she was still alive.
Oh, yeah, torture. Great.
Yep.
He's such a nice guy. See, this is why, out of all serial killers, I respect the Predator the most. Because at least he goes for a challenge. Every human serial killer is a coward.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go for the easy victims.
Yeah, especially this fucking piece of
Predator's
shit.
a real man. He likes a challenge.
Yep. He likes a xenomorph.
I was trying to do it, but I couldn't do the Predator there.
I
couldn't do the consecutive clicks.
We got you. I'll add in some clicks.
Thank you.
So they both survived for 3 more days.
Oh,
See, that's the worst. I just want to be like, I want to die if I'm not going to.
yeah. 3 days.
And of course, after hitting them, he raped them both. And then he got the idea to grab lipstick and draw a pentagram on the inside of Ma Bell's thigh. He then drew a pentagram on 2 bedroom walls.
I still feel bad for. What was the last one where the guy was like alive for like 2 or 3 weeks?
Barbadella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy's fucked, man. He was he was a straight torturer. Yeah.
Getting sodomized every day for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I got a little tie-in with Barbadilla at the end as well, too.
Ooh.
So he then ate a few bananas, drank a few cans of soda. He peed in the bathroom, and he did not flush it.
So this piece of shit eats bananas.
Yep.
And doesn't flush. Did he at least leave the seat? You know, did he put the seat
He peed
down?
all over the seat, probably.
Oh, that jerk.
Wow, bananas. I wouldn't think someone that
Had that bad breath.
drinks Mountain Dews and eats fucking candy bars all day.
Yeah. He's probably like, ugh.
Guys, you would hate my diet. If you know what I eat, you'd be like, oh,
I'm worried for you.
I think so.
I already told you to cut the Monster
Well.
Energy drinks out. Stop it!
Well,
This is terrible.
they're rock star, so there.
Oh, yeah.
They're healthiest.
A few days later, a handyman found the 2 women still alive, skull fractures and some brain matter exposed.
Jesus.
Their vaginas were also in bad shape from the rape, plus he chewed on them.
Oh, my goodness. So, like,
Oh,
were they even able to, like, speak? Were they coherent, or were they just, like, pretty much brain dead?
Yeah, they were like kind of comatose.
Yeah, that would be torturous. I mean, it sucks that they went that long without any help, but
An 80-year-old just after getting like raped and like hit in the head with a hammer, just laying there for 3 days. Like, Jesus Christ.
it's fucked up.
that's so fucked up. What a piece of shit coward.
So the next victim was Harold and Jean Wu. He broke into their house, shot Harold in the head, and put Jean in the thumb cuffs again. He raped the 62-year-old.
Did he rape the girl, I assume, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the dude was in thumb cuffs?
No, he put her in thumb cuffs. So his MO is he walks in and
kills
usually,
a man quickly.
yeah, he usually takes care of the man first. He'll shoot the man in the head or try to kill the man first.
Since they break those guys, be a man and break those thumb cuffs.
Nope. So she's in thumb cuffs getting raped. He shoots her. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He rapes the 60-year-old Jean, but he leaves her living. So she lived and she was able to say, you know, bad breath, fantastic hair.
See, why did he leave some of them alive? It's just strange to me.
Isn't it? I have questions about this guy in general, but I'll wait to the end. I feel like some things don't quite add up.
So he then broke into Carol Kyle's house, finds her 12-year-old son, gets her to cooperate by having him, like, basically, he sticks him in the closet when he's raping his mom, but he leaves them both alive. Carol Kyle described Richard as a good-looking, but that said he smelled like wet leather.
That seems to be the consensus.
Yeah. Like, at first, his crimes would be, like, months apart, but then they would be multiple weeks apart, and then they started happening, like, every night, every other night. He was just kind of, like, getting closer to, like, berserker mode.
Okay, then what made him just stop? Because he didn't get convicted till DNA evidence came in 2009.
No, he got caught. He died way earlier than that. They found out that was his killing along.
Oh, well, I thought you said that he was an open book once he got.
He was, but he didn't talk about. Nobody usually talks about killing children.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they had all the other 13 murders, and then they tacked that last one on
So,
after. Yeah. Well, he was already
like Israel Keys. Yeah, Israel Keys never admitted to killing like one of the there was a handicapped girl from the Special Olympics.
Right, like anybody has any respect left for you.
Yep. Like at this point, they're starting to get kind of a composite sketch going of this guy, and obviously they know he smells like wet leather and he's got horrible halitosis. He tried to break into a house, but he saw a man cleaning his gun, so he decided he was all set with that.
He's got a bigger gun than me.
So he decided he wanted to kidnap a girl near Eagle Rock, and she started screaming and got away, and so someone called the police. So when he was running away from them, he ran a red light in a stolen car, and the cop basically pulled him over, and the cop was writing him a ticket, and a call came over the radio that they were looking for a Mexican man with black hair driving a blue Toyota who tried to abduct a 6-year-old girl.
He smelled like wet leather.
Officer John Stavros just made small talk with him and joked around like, "You're not that guy who's breaking into people's houses and killing them, are you?"
Oh, no, of course not, officer. Do you see this hair?
You smell that leather? It's dry.
Yeah, you're looking for a wet leather guy.
Yeah, there's a difference.
So Richard says, "No way, man. When are you guys going to catch that motherfucker anyway?" So the cop goes back to his motorcycle. Richard jumps out of his car unnoticed, and he draws a pentagram in the dust on the hood of the car and runs off into the woods.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's
like how stupid is that? Like you just got thrown a bone, and you still got away with it.
Well, if he stuck around, he might have got caught because it's a stolen car. But like the cops,
but why even risk that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this cop is so stupid that he was like, "I'm gonna leave this."
So he also he thought that Satan was protecting him. Like he was so fucked up that like he thought like Satan was protecting him at all times.
No, you stop doing Satan's fucking cocaine.
Right.
Stop doing the Satan dusts. You're not protected anymore.
So a few days later, he murders Patty Higgins. He breaks in, slits her throat, and then rapes her.
So he left the car. What do they do to the car? Is that the car that they found his prints on the rearview mirror?
So wasn't the cop car he did the pentagram on?
No, the cop was on a motorcycle. It was the blue Toyota.
Right.
So good call, Nate. Detective Correo arrived at the LAPD Northeast Station where Ramirez's car was being held. He was told that as a member of the sheriff's department, he wouldn't be able to see the car, let alone dust for fingerprints. It was a jurisdiction thing.
Oh yeah, that was jockeying.
Until like the LAPD was forced by like higher powers to eventually like let that happen. But so the sun basically melted the prints away because the car was sitting in the sun and the prints were just gone. Basically, you can't completely blame the cops of the past because the first system to link interstate reports of sexual assault and murder, aka FICAP, did not debut until the year of Richard Ramirez was arrested. Before, the police had no way of connecting the dots between crimes committed in the faraway corners of America.
Hey, you never killed anybody, right? No? Oh, okay, you can go.
I see you got convicted of rape when you were 14.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're fine.
Let me not run a check on you at all.
Yeah.
Well, that rape wasn't there because no one pressed charges. So that rape was. But
it should still be on your record.
Yeah, it wasn't though.
Yeah.
They didn't press.
I feel like everything we do is on our shit now. They'll tell you that it's not there, but it's still there.
They probably fingerprinted him too, though.
He has been fingerprinted before because he has got arrested before. But
like maybe they can't use it in court, but they still have a record of things you've done.
They should have it written down.
Going back to the cops, like Ramirez's spree was not one of those cases. Even though all of his crimes were committed in different neighborhoods, they were all committed in a somewhat close proximity. So in the case of Night Stalker, oversized egos and the desire to be the department that landed the big catch prevented many jurisdictions from working together in a meaningful
instead
way.
of communicating and helping each other to save lives, they just wanted to be the one to get the game-winning catch.
Exactly. So the only two men who truly cared about the case was Gil Carano and Frank the Bulldog Salerno. And these two cops, like,
Are these guys on that show?
no. So these guys eventually partnered up, and they're basically two super cops. But this guy, Frank the Bulldog Salerno, he helped take down the Green River killer, Gary Ridgway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. He was a pretty badass dude.
Before or after this?
I want to say before. I think Gary Ridgway was before, but don't quote me on that. So after the whole police officer car thing and the pentagram on the hood, he murdered Patty Higgins. He breaks in, slices her throat, and this is on 6/27. And on 7/2, July 2nd, he breaks into the house of Mary Cannon. She was a 75-year-old. He beat her unconscious with a lamp, and then he stabbed her with a 10-inch butter knife.
Jeez.
Oh, that sounds painful.
7/5, July 5th, Whitney Bennett was a 16-year-old girl who forgot to lock her window. He broke into her place, and he hit her in the head with a tire iron repeatedly and raped her. She had 478 stitches.
She lived?
Yeah,
She
Whitney
lived,
there.
but she didn't remember anything.
He probably thought she was dead. He was just like, I don't care. Like, I'm necrophiliac. I'm going to do this.
She was screaming the whole time, and so that's why he left. But yeah, she lived miraculously. It was pretty crazy,
478 stitches. That's insane.
right?
Insane.
Next victim, Joyce Nelson, was stomped to death. Of course, he was wearing his Avia sneakers, and he left a fucking sneaker print on her face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many years has this been?
So that the Patty Higgins,
1 year, right?
Patty Higgins, Mary Cannon, and Whitney Bennett and Joyce Nelson was all within 2 months.
Gotcha.
I mean, his whole thing was only like a year, right?
I believe it was a few years.
Was
Yep.
it a few? Yeah.
So I think right now he's around 8 to 10 kills. Chananang Covignoth and Some King Covignoth were his next victims. And this one was one of the most brutal ones. He killed the husband first with a handgun. He finds the wife. He rapes her. He finds the couple's 8-year-old son, rapes him with a bottle of baby oil.
Well,
Oh God, I haven't heard
now
that.
he's experimenting.
Yep. He asked the wife where the money was, and she said, "There's no money, I swear to God." And he yelled at her, "Swear to Satan!" She said she saw danger beyond words in his eyes. She said he looked brutal, like an animal. And I think she only had $400, and he was basically like, "That's what your life is worth." But like I said, they had started to put together a composite. Frank Salerno starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, because a lot of these people in the force think that it's crazy that it's one person. They all think it's multiple people. They're like, this guy Frank Salerno's crazy for thinking it's one person. There's so many people. That'll come back.
Well, the problem is, I think at this time there were multiple serial killers in the area.
Exactly. And it's the 70s, 80s time where it's kind of all new and they don't know. It's they don't have the means that we have nowadays. The next victims, Max and Leela Needing. He breaks into their place. This time, he brings his own machete. A lot of the times, he would use what he found at the house, just randomly. He chops up both their bodies in their beds and then just shoots them both in the head. Robs them. And just
After
leaves.
chopping them up?
Yep, he chops them up and then just shoots them.
Oh, you're going to fuck with those cops. They're not going to know what happened.
Right? So he robs them, just leaves. Chris and Virginia Peterson were the only couple to fight back and get the best of him. Chris was 36 and Virginia was 27 years old. He shot them both. He shot the woman in the face and the dude in the temple, but they were still able to fight him off and live.
That's crazy.
Again, it's the 22, so.
Yeah.
And they were also able to give a great description of him. Wet leather, horrible teeth, amazing hair.
Singing AC/DC.
The next victim was Elise Abawath. He made her swear to Satan during the whole time he was raping her. And after this murder, he was finally dubbed the Night Stalker. Frank Salerno holds a press conference, tells people to lock their doors and windows, and to buy a weapon. Get a gun.
Mm-hmm. Keep it loaded.
Yep.
And it was also really hot that summer. So people are not having ACs in their windows, so that added to the tension. Like it was gross and sticky.
It smells like wet leather in here.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
You gotta look around, be prepared. If your apartment smells like wet leather and Vidal Sassoon.
His hair blowing in the wind. So LA is now in like full panic mode. They know they got a serial killer on their hands, and even Richard kind of like is smart enough to like know he's feeling the heat. So he decides to venture to San Francisco. And when he gets there, he just starts robbing some houses, stealing jewelry, valuables, until he kind of gets comfortable a little bit with the area. And he decides to cut the screen window of 66-year-old Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
And 64-year-old Barbara Pan.
You guys ever see the movie Hook?
Robin Williams would have smoked this dude.
Hated it. I'm just kidding. I like her.
You know what, Greg? I'm with Greg on this one. I like.
I like Hook too. It's just Justin. Justin hates Hook.
Dude, that movie scared the shit out of me as a child. So, like, when he ran up the stairwell with the hook scraping the wallpaper, oh, forget it.
I can see that part.
That was it. That's what my hallway looked like. So I was like, nah, he's gonna kill me every night.
He's gonna get me.
Hey, he's gonna get me.
Back
to the story.
I recently watched Spider-Man and the Spider Multiverse, whatever it is.
The second one, yeah.
Yeah,
the second one. I'm like, damn, like, should kids be watching this?
Yeah.
I mean, especially at the end, like, it was pretty scary when he was the Prowler scene.
Yeah. No, they definitely have the different rating system than they used to. That's for sure.
100%.
Well, we're also we used to be a very more wholesome society too. Now it's
right,
very gritty and gory, and
I blame Richard Ramirez and his ilk.
Once they got rid of the laugh track on sitcoms,
it was all downhill from there.
I don't know. There might still be laugh tracks on sitcoms. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
So he breaks into Neverland House, the Pan's house. He instinctively knew the layout of all these houses. He said it was similar to like LA, like the houses looked the same. So he knew right where their bedroom was. He shot poor Peter, and then he beat and shot Barbara. He robbed them, and then, of course, again, he drew a pentagram on the wall and wrote the words, Jack the Knife, all in lipstick.
Jack the Knife?
Jack the Knife. Which is
that's what he wanted to be called, but nobody ever called him that?
No, it's a Judas Priest lyric.
Wow.
Whoa, now we're just switching it up. Damn.
So
Judas Priest are harder than AC/DC,
so he's terrorizing.
Is this 2 minutes to midnight, or what time was
Didn't they like have a whole album backwards or something?
They did.
I don't know. I never got into it.
I think they did.
They totally worship the devil. So he's like, AC/DC, they're just like posers acting like they like the devil, but you got to get on the Judas Priest, man. They're real devil worship.
I think AC/DC was his favorite, but he loved Judas Priest. He loved Billy Idol. He loved all like the bands that were considered dangerous back in the day.
He liked Billy Idol, though.
Yep.
So he was like the Israel.
He made fun of Kiss because Kiss was supposed to be. It's like.
I mean, I made fun of Kiss.
Knights of something Satan's Sons or something like that. I forgot what it stands for, but like he sent a letter into like a rock magazine later and like said like fuck these guys. He did eventually make fun of Judas Priest too. I think when that guy maybe came out. Actually, I don't think he came out till later, so I could be making that up. So San Francisco starts to get into a little panic. Mayor of San Francisco, Dianne Feinstein, holds a press conference. You know, she just basically said that they were upping the reward money to $80,000. So she was running her mouth, giving away clues, and she basically said that the Avia sneakers were something they were looking for. So Richard takes his sneakers and throws them off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, of course.
Yep. Yeah.
Way to go, Feinstein.
So you know what's funny about her is like recent. So she's a senator. They basically just wheeled her around. She wasn't even like coherent. She was so old.
Yeah, she's like 90 years old.
Yeah.
Or did she just die? Or
yeah, she's dead.
Yeah, she died September 29th, 2023. But yeah,
rest in hell.
She basically like screwed herself politically on
Well,
that.
she sucked anyway. She was trying to like decriminalize weed
Exactly.
again, like recently. She's the worst.
Yeah, thumbs down.
After the Feinstein comments, Richard returns to Los Angeles. Bill Carnes and Carol Smith would be the next victims and the last victims. His face is all over LA right now. A cab driver had been suspicious of him before because he was bringing him around town.
Wasn't it just a drawing though, a sketch artist that did this point? Yeah.
Yep, and he looked like kind of like Lou Reed.
And I really didn't think it looked that much like him at all.
Yeah, it
did
looks
you?
like Lou Reed essentially.
No, but maybe if maybe if you're in the moment.
Yeah, maybe in the moment it was, but like looking back, I was like, oh, that doesn't. I wouldn't have picked him out.
All the sketchy people that he sold jewelry to are starting to get suspicious. I mean, there was blood on some of the jewelry he sold. One of the guy's houses eventually gets raided, and they find a bunch of other stuff that, like a boatload of shit that was taken. So they eventually run the prints, or run the, I think they ran the prints on the jewelry. Found out who it was. They found out it was Richard Ramirez.
Didn't one of the people engrave like the social security number in the jewelry?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
That what I heard. I don't know. You're more the expert, and I'm the hit or miss info guy. But yeah, no. So he engraved the social security number in the jewelry, and then he pawned it off to an informant, and the informant basically calls him out.
I don't know if I heard that.
So again, it might not be true. I'm not deep in the research.
I know one of the guys that he sold jewelry to got like popped for something, and they like raided his house, and they found a bunch of stuff that was connected to the victims.
That could be all correlated then.
We're honing in.
Yep. So the Carnes, Bill Carnes and Carol Smith, they were engaged to be married. He shoots Bill 3 times, all in the head, and then he went to Carol and said, "You know who I am, right? I'm the one they've been talking about in the papers. I'm the Night Stalker."
I wonder if he used 22 because like nobody was hearing it.
Could be.
He's like, I'm gonna get up close. I'll shoot him 3 times, but that's fine because nobody's gonna. I mean, none of the neighbors gonna hear it or think anything of it.
So he beats the shit out of her, all while making her say, "I love Satan. I love Satan." Ties her up, sodomizes her, while making her scream, "I love Satan," at the same time.
Do you think there was at least one Jesus lover that stayed strong?
No!
Kill me, devil!
The power of Christ compels you.
He let her live. So he basically said, "Say I love Satan," and then he left.
Tell the cops I had beautiful hair.
Yeah, he did the hair swish.
It's like an Herbal Essences commercial. He just flicks his hair back.
"Hi, I'm Richard Ramirez. Do you like Pantene Pro V?"
When I'm not killing people.
When leaving, a 13-year-old boy named James Romero III saw an orange station wagon, and he was smart enough to write down the license plate number, and because he had heard the gunshots.
Also, serial killer shouldn't drive around an orange vehicle.
Right. Well, he stole all his cars, of course. This is another stolen car. And speaking of the gunshots, the man Bill Carnes survived. He got shot 3 times in the face, but of course he used a 22. So.
Damn, I should have used a stronger gun.
So he then goes on vacation to visit his brother in Arizona. Meanwhile, the cops found the orange station wagon that he had abandoned and pulled some prints. They were able to match the prints to the hotel he stayed in at Skid Row, and they were able to get his name as well. So they now know it's Richard Ramirez.
So I wonder if fingerprints were a thing, common knowledge at this point. And if you steal a car, how hard is it to wear gloves?
So many people were like, "Oh, it's this tall, skinny Spanish man who's always talking about Satan and bragging about Satan."
Go figure.
Yeah, and he would always tell that to prostitutes and everything.
Huh.
And of course, he had been arrested before, so he was in the system.
Well, we can't prove it that he loves Satan unless he tells us.
So LA is buzzing, and he's off to Arizona. His face is fucking everywhere. Gets to Arizona, does a little vacay, comes back to LA, gets dropped off on a bus, and heads into a convenience store. And 2 older ladies call him El Matador. El Matador, El Matador, which I believe means
The killer.
So he's like, "What the fuck are they calling me this for?" Even though he's a fucking idiot and he's a killer. Looks down, sees his face on the newspaper, and it's plastered everywhere. So he starts running. People notice him and start chasing after him. He's hopping fences. He's running through people's yards. He got hit with a spatula by some guy who was cooking burgers and stuff. But people are seeing him and they recognize him. Police lines are blowing up saying there's a guy who looks like Richard Ramirez running through my neighborhood, running through my backyard. Basically, a mob is chasing him through the streets of L.A. Some dude brains him with a flagpole, and then a few people just start beating the shit out of him. And 2 dudes stood on him as he was all fucking laying there bloody and fucked up and waited for the cops to come and get him. And when the cops got him, he said he wanted to die. He told the cops to give him a gun so he could shoot himself in the head. He said, let me play Russian roulette.
I should have pinned him down with a flagpole up his butt.
He said, you got me. I'm the Night Stalker. I want the electric chair. The trial lasted 4 years and cost the state over $2 million because basically he fired his attorneys like left and right, and he pleaded not guilty because he wanted to hear his victims testify.
Oh, our justice system.
Yeah.
We still take this long to convict someone and waste that much more money probably.
Yep.
So he all of a sudden started getting fan mail from females.
Oh my God.
Right?
The bluesies going after him.
Crazy.
Going back to Bob Bordello, fans of Richard smuggled in phallic vegetables to masturbate for him during visits.
Unless Satan told you to, why would you court this man?
One of the jurors baked him cupcakes, and when he was found guilty, she mouthed the words, "I'm sorry," to Richard. True crime author Dorian Lilloy said she famously said she would cut off her right arm for Richard. She went to the trial every day, and she eventually married Richard.
Until she found out about that 9-year-old.
Yeah, no, she didn't give a shit. He got 75 letters in 11 years in prison.
And didn't one of the jurors get shot and killed in the beginning of the trial?
Yes, but that had nothing to do with, that was like her husband. Her husband shot her. That was a completely different case. Yep.
Crazy.
So Richard ended up dying June 7th, 2013 of lymphoma and liver failure. So, and that's the story of one of the scariest serial killers of all time. An absolute fucking monster.
A monster with bad breath.
Yeah. Any questions, boys?
Let's see.
Did you ever look up his family? What did they amount to?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I wonder what Miguel's doing nowadays.
Yeah, I wonder when he passed away.
He still could be living.
Yeah, I mean that's just insane though. Like we should do a podcast on that guy.
Miguel,
right?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. That's his uncle, right?
Like,
Yeah.
His cousin.
His cousin, yeah.
It's like, I was like, when I really like heard about him, I was more into that story than the rest of Ramirez's story because I was like, this is fucked.
I thought his uncle was the one that taught him all this stuff.
His uncle taught him.
His uncle was the one who taught him how to peep.
His uncle's the one that cut people's heads off.
No, that's his cousin.
No, that's cousin.
Cousin
Mike.
Miguel, cousin Mike. His uncle was the one who taught him how to peep and Tom and brought him like along peep and Tom.
Oh, you know what I heard about his cousin there? The reason he cut off their arms and stuff and their limbs is because they can't go to heaven if they get if they're mutated. So he would.
Oh, so he's even more of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was his reasoning for cutting off.
I
limbs.
mean, Vietnam was fucked up. So
sure.
like he's probably a saint compared to what was happening there. I remember some dude in my dispensary told me he was having nightmares. He's like, I'm having nightmares from Vietnam, and I was like, oh boy. And I had known about like serial killers in Vietnam. I was like, what the fuck did you do, man?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's smoking so much weed to subdue those nightmares.
Yeah. You guys fucked up.
Yeah, I thought he was crazy, and then it all sunk in. It's like, all right, he was in war. That's his job, is to go kill people. Like, he's supposed to be fucked up.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a little bit of pressure off. But he's so fucked up.
I forgot to mention that the cops said that they had suspected that a Vietnam vet was doing this.
Oh, really?
And that's, he was trained by a Vietnam vet,
Right. Is that why it was? Because he had similar characteristics of like a Vietnam.
I just think the brutality of it. And
yeah, that's how
somebody coming back with,
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, think about people coming back today with
I think
PTSD.
it's crazy, man. It's fucked up. Like,
Oof.
yeah, it's insane.
So bad.
That shit will fuck you up, dude. I get fucked up over like a girl, I can't imagine like fucking, dealing with like that trauma. It's insane.
Right? Yeah. Oh. That's crazy.
But yeah, you guys got anything else?
Nah, I don't think so. Do you think he killed more people like when he was out in Arizona and those other
I
places?
think
I mean, he's from Texas.
Got to be a few more.
Probably. Yep.
I would think so. I mean, just like the rate of kills that he does, I feel like there was a lot
of
more.
girls on milk cartons back in the day, and he wasn't talking about those ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure he did a lot more. But like they did say he loved to talk and he was pretty open about it. But then again, like if he was killing kids, I don't think he would have been super proud of that, you know?
Right. That was one thing. I couldn't find too many like interviews with him, unfortunately.
His trial's pretty heavily covered and shit. I've heard a couple interviews.
Yeah, I could find like those headlines.
And one of the books I read, or one of the books I listened to, they had like a free book on Audible. There was like 18 hours, and that was nice. That was something.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen. If you want to find us on You Run Podcast Network, you want to give us a good review, look us up on Patreon, The Crusty Boys, or just look up Gonna Eat That Crust, and you want to donate and get episodes a week earlier. They're going to be on Patreon, and we usually drop episodes every Sunday. Spotify, Apple Pod, YouTube, all that shit.
Yeah, thank you for listening. I mean, you know, if you're like us, this stuff fascinates you, but just don't go too far. Don't chop any heads off, please. And if you are into that sort of thing, leave the children alone.
Yes.
Yeah, go get help.
Do it Dexter style. And brush your teeth. Brush your teeth, floss. Yeah. You know, death creeps in from the gums.
Who's that politician? Vermin Supreme is going to give everyone a free toothbrush.
Hey. Vermin's got my.
You guys should look him up. He'll.
Dentists already do that.
I know Vermin Supreme.
You know him, he's the guy with the boot on his head.
Wizard.
Yeah, give everyone a pony and something about plaque was ruining our nation. So he was ahead of his time.
Vermin Supreme.
Don't rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth. Let that fluoride do its work.
That's right. And remember. In crust, we trust.